that somebody does create a better way to buy your groceries and bring it home. But under socialism, it doesn't allow this. They'll just say, no plastic bags and put your hands under the bed.
That's our city council.
Yeah, that's what you have to show, that you are an environment, and yet you want to keep our civilization. You want to keep
it's life is about balances.
Yeah, because for example, like these plastic bags, I mean, we all recycle them, because I do. When I get them from the store, I use them for garbage again. Now I have to buy a bigger garbage bag, which is more plastic, isn't it?
Right.
To throw out my garbage. I use the plastic bags again, and like I said, to throw out.
But that's how you have to show your party that you are for all these things.
Well,
They don't think so.
Well, it's not like we can buy
I'm the state chairman. I tried it. You know what I mean? I didn't. I'm not running for it. I got there. So I mean, I'm doing my best. But I mean, it's a lot of work out there. You know, a given day for just so you can understand, a given day for me or a given week for me could be 5 different cities. And you know, there's lots of things going on. I mean, I got a lot happening. So I try. My party tries. I try to encourage them. I took our state leadership and I took them on the road with me, you should know, which they don't really like, but that's the way life goes. We were holding all our leadership meetings in Brooklyn. We go month to month to a different part of the state. I begin with a press conference on an issue in Syracuse last Saturday. I did illegal driver's licenses driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. Driver's license in opposition. We had the county clerks from the area in, got a bunch of the state legislators. We spoke on it. Congressman Katko and Congressman Reed and several of the other Congress members backed us up. They put out statements backing us up. Next month on early June, I'm going up to Somers, New York, and Yorktown in Westchester. We're going to do a press conference followed by a party leaders meeting on opposition to a sanctuary state, which is where the state's moving. The state's moving in the direction of not just sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, which might have some other legal issues to it, but that's, using that as an example. And as I move around location to location, I will do my best to get out messages that are media savvy, with the help of local elected officials that agree with us, and I don't care what party they're from, and we take it from there. I have no complaints about the media, you should know. I am a totally positive guy when it comes to operating politically in this state. I take it as it comes and I'll do a workaround if I have a problem. I am like water finding a leak in a wall. I will get through, but it might only be a drip. But as I drip through, I can cause a flood eventually on the other side. I never say that wall is too thick. I just keep on going. I've done it here forever. I'm now taking it on the road. I'm taking people with me on the road. And I will have an effective conservative party working with the Republican Party. But I will say this, it's going to be necessary for the Republican Party in many parts of the state to energize itself too. In many parts of the state they are incredibly well energized. But they need to become energized with me, and together we can have some victories. But no victory can take place without a candidate. I can't, last time on that Cortez seat, the individual we were running turned out to be someone with a history of domestic violence. So we could not even actually tell people for real to vote for him. It was a documented history of domestic violence. He should have been vetted better. So, and when people tell me how could we lose, I mean, who was going to actually tell anybody to vote for somebody who beat up his wife? So that is how crazy that got, and that is what things we need to vet better, end up being more focused on the need of what election day is going to look like. So imagine you're doing candidate selection next year. Petitions begin, as you know, the very last week of February. I believe it's going to be the last week of February, which is, manageable here, but I got to be honest with you, when you're up in Clinton, New York, is it manageable? No, they can't really get out for another month. But here's my point. we're doing meetings like this, party leaders, about candidates. You shouldn't be thinking about the candidate you're trying to fill the ballot up with on February 28th. You should be thinking about what that candidate, what they're going to look like on November 6th. Every conversation should be the end of the conversation, not the beginning. You should be doing the, kind of like, like you did flow charts when you were in your science classes when you were younger, or I was younger. For politics, you really need to start at the end and go backwards, which is, the way we did flow charts improperly when I was a kid. That was the backwards way to get it done. But that's what you've got to do. You've got to know what you know what you want on November 6th. You know you want to win. Then you got to back it from there. Not be sitting somewhere on February 28th and saying, my God, I need a candidate. The petition is coming out on Monday, or Tuesday rather. So, I mean, I look at that AOC situation we've discussed. I can give you other situations that are like that. Let me just say this to you. Do you all realize how lucky you were that Nicole Maliotakis ran for mayor in 2017? Compared to what we were being presented with? You all realize that she actually campaigned continuously for months, and she spent $4.5 million to get the largest vote we've gotten. Giuliani and Bloomberg aside, Bloomberg being because he spent $100 million conservatively, because we know he spent $400 million on charity separately, and Giuliani because he fit in at a perfect timing. You realize she got the highest vote of a Republican candidate since 1973. She got 28%. That was the highest vote a Republican candidate has gotten in the city of New York, and that is the minimal level vote to win a statewide election. So what I'm saying to you is that, what I'm simply saying to you is that we got very lucky there. We have to make our own luck. We can't just get lucky. We have to make our own luck. And that's it. I will probably need to cut it because I need to.
Yeah, just one quick thing. Sure. Do you think there's going to be any reversal in the future of what damage the state legislation is doing to us now through the state senate since we lost? Is there any, because now we need the assembly to overturn
but some of it's going to come through litigation. There's a lot of litigation out there and a lot of different things now. There's some good groups, good government type groups that are funded by these richer people I was suggesting to you that are doing that. Now, the only other thing that can happen, which is a longer process, because these cases are active, you could actually have a situation where if you were able to take back the Republican Senate during budget negotiations, you could probably reverse certain things, it's going to be limited, very limited. And of course, the best way would be for us to get two pieces, to get a governor presenting a budget. And you know what? I'm not going to tell you this guy isn't beatable in 3 years. I'm not also going to tell you he's running in 3 years. I don't know. I mean, we got to be ready now, and I'm thinking about that race right now. Believe me. And then if you got that with the Assembly, the Senate, you could during budget time possibly reverse some things. But here's the thing: I don't want to get your hopes up that high. I plan for the future. I'm not so sure we can expect many changes going backwards. Some of the things that have occurred we're going to have to live with.
Pricing.
Well, and it's particularly because we live in New York City. I will tell you, as I've been going around to these counties, county governments and county executives are looking at workarounds on some of the stuff the state's doing to kind of keep what they view as problems outside of their county. So, for example, several counties have now banned the possibility of if marijuana is legalized by the state, it actually being because there's a local aspect to that of it happening in their county. This whole paper plastic bag issue is different in New York City than it is in many counties around the state that have taken votes to keep any fee. Remember, we're getting a fee in New York City too. They at least have been able to keep the fee out of other parts of the state. So there are, and I think to your earlier question, I think to some people who do have these summer homes in other counties, half of their life they're living differently than the half they're living here. And they don't see necessarily the desire to really do the battle when they know they're going to potentially be retiring to another county in the state, or out of state of course, but in the state where it's just not the same. Because like I said, most of the state is actually controlled by Republicans and conservatives outside of New York City.
I was once traveling in Port Jervis area, and I was up in the hills above there, all in the state of New York.
The Hill Country.
And I came across maybe, this is back in 2016, about 50 lawn signs, every single one of them for Trump. Not one Clinton.
There was, you could not, I'm telling you, that was universal, I think, once you got above Westchester, but once again, you know, population is down here,
Right.
so you end up with that issue. You know, you can't set up a New York State electoral
I
college.
had my lawn signed because they robbed it.
And one last quick question before you go. Do you think AOC can be beaten? Defeated?
I think she can be beaten in a primary.
Primary.
And I believe that, her rhetoric is popular and has got a lot of followers in her district, but there is going to be some need for her actually to do constituent services and be a localized Congress member.
Have you opened our office yet?
What even
Not in the Bronx.
sanctuary city, the president is bringing,
I'm having a press conference on it next month, like I said.
Yeah, but financially, if they bring, I feel bad for human beings, but financially, if they come here, the illegal immigrants, they're gonna, and we have, you know, it's horrible that we have homeless people and people who need help. And now, how are they gonna deal with the people who come, the illegal immigrants that are coming here?
Yeah, this is the last one. The last follow-up to that is in regards to our wonderful mayor, that 1.8, what is it, $1.8 billion that's missing from his wife?
Yes, yes.
What's that, and that'll be the conclusion.
I mean, I don't know if it's actually, this is the thing, you know, there's 1.8 billion missing sounds like a robbery took place. This is what I think happened. I think you can conclude that 1.8 billion was wasted and that the taxpayers of the city of New York should be concerned about what occurred here, you know, on those programs that she was talking about. And I do think there's an additional issue and conversation worth having about the role of a non-elected official who is a relative of the chief executive, playing such a substantive role in running a government that she has sworn no oath to.
Right.
So I think there is a number of things happening there. But just so you understand, I take stuff a little differently. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not the person who's going to spend this time standing on a corner screaming that Hillary Clinton should go to jail. I'm going to be the person standing on a corner saying that Donald Trump should be supported.
Okay.
It's a different conversation. It's the one I want to have.
Okay.
But you're gonna talk about sanctuary cities, that it's gonna be a burden to New York.
Yeah, I'm having a press conference on it.
Yeah.
When is that? When's that?
And last question, Lloyd?
Yeah, hi, my name's Bill Lloyd. I live in Bay Ridge. I want to get back to something that Lawrence and you were saying about media. First, I want to say I am not a lawyer, but I'm aware that in the law there's something called the Fairness Doctrine, and it refers to media. It refers to television, radio, newspapers, and magazines. We're not hearing so much about it now, but when Rupert Murdoch was going through his woes, and when Andrew Breitbart died, we heard more about it. We're hearing nothing about it now. So in response to Lawrence's question about the creation of a conservative media, I'm sure people at the top in your organization, a lot of them are lawyers. How can we get the Fairness Doctrine to work on our behalf the way it was intended to?
I mean, so here's the thing. Just to your point. So maybe that's something I will bring up at our next leaders meeting in June. But just so you know, we're not a big lawyer operation. Conservative Party is not. It's just one of those things. You know, we're not that type of organization. We love lawyers, but we just don't have an enormous number in. And we do have many in our leadership, but not so many that they just jump at these things. As I think you know, and then we all know when we deal with lawyers are not like, you know, universally involved in all sorts of issues. Almost every lawyer I know does real estate law. That would not be one of their issues. You know what I'm saying to you? So it's just, I understand where you're going on the Fairness Doctrine. I'm just simply saying to you, I never really personally have any trouble getting media.
Okay.
So to me, I just can't buy in like everybody wants me to. I never have getting attention if I want the attention. I just don't. So I have a newspaper column. I've had one for 30 years. We never had an issue in the Brooklyn Home Reporter and Spectator. in that set of publications. I've never had an issue. And I'm saying I've never had an issue calling up press and getting whatever attention I need. But you should know something. I'm not always looking for attention. I just don't always see that the way to go. In this day and age, we have the ability to create other stuff on our own, and I use a lot of that. For $100, I can get a message out on Facebook, which will not be cut. It's a commercial establishment. It will be seen by more people than will be seen on WPIX.
Right.
Okay. So
Thank you.
let me
Thank you.
say goodbye.
Thank you for your effort.
You're very welcome.
Some pictures?
More pictures?
Oh. I don't like
You know,
He's the official camera.
Let me put my jacket on,
Yeah,
and can you do me a favor? Send it to me. I'll put it on all our social media.
yeah, we'll do that.
I'll take some. I'll take a
Yeah,
picture.
take some.
Let me just one thing though.
Yeah.
Just one on our social media.
No, I don't have any.